Hey, what's going on there, guitar gods? It's the guitar historian here with some reaction video for you. So, tonight it was just announced that according to Total Guitar Magazine readers, the greatest rock guitarist of all time is Brian May of Queen. So, what do you think of that, guys? Well, my initial reaction is that's ridiculous. And I think that he would agree with you when I say that's ridiculous. But let's unpack this a little bit. So, Brian May says, I'm blown away. He thinks that Jimi Hendrix is the number one guitar player. I'm deeply touched that people feel that way about me. I'm not under any illusions that technically I'm even on the tree of great guitarists. I guess this tells me that what I've done has affected people, and that means a great deal to me. I will never claim to be a great guitarist in the sense of, a virtuoso. I guess I just try to play from my heart, and that's about it. And then he goes on to talk about Jimi Hendrix a bit. So yeah, Brian May, guys. He is your greatest rock guitarist of all time, according to Total Guitar Magazine. What do you think of that? Well, one of the things about the last few years, I've been seeing a lot of these polls about like the greatest rock bands and the greatest song of all time and things like that. And Queen has been consistently kind of beating everyone for it was weird because I'm old enough to remember when there used to be kind of these countdowns, radio countdowns, the top 500 classic rock songs on Memorial Days, stuff like that. And almost always Stairway to Heaven. It was almost always Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, Jimmy Page. And then at some point they kind of fell out of favor. I don't think it was technically like Wayne's World. It was more like after that. It feels more recently that Queen has really become this kind of juggernaut of classic rock. When people think of classic rock, they think of Queen. And, to me, I think Queen's overrated. I am not selling them short at all. I think they're a great band musically. Obviously, Freddie Mercury is in the top 3 of rock singers of all time. I think it's a very subjective list. Personally, I've always loved Roger Daltrey's voice, and I've always loved not Jimmy Page, I was going to say Jimmy Page, Robert Plant. But, Freddie obviously can sing his ass off with any of them, so I just think that it's subjective, in my opinion. So, when you think of the top 10 guitarists of all time, I can name a bunch of guitarists, like, I'm going to try to name them off the top of my head as much as I can, that I think are better than he is. Obviously, Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player of all time. He changed the game, and every other guitar player looked up to him. So, when you see other guitarists looking up to him, and looking up to other people, like Stevie Ray Vaughan is another one that they look up to. They look up to Jeff Beck. They look up to Peter Green. You just see these guitarists that are named, and they're the ones that other guitarists go, whoa, like Steve Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen, and how about Eddie Van Halen? Like, what are we talking about here? Eric Clapton, Joe Walsh. It's just ridiculous. Lindsey Buckingham. The other guitarist in Eagles is better than him, Don Felder. I've always thought there's a guitar player that has flown under the radar. Well, there's a couple for me. I love Brian Campbell from the Heartbreakers, and I love Elliot Easton from the Cars. They're definitely better than he is, I think, in my opinion. It just goes on. And for you to say like the top, you could say right firmly, I would say like Jimi Hendrix, Van Halen, Clapton, Vaughn, and probably Jimmy Page, right? So that I think is your top 5. So he doesn't even make the top 5 because there's no way you can tell me that he's better than any of those guitarists. There's no way. So anyway, tell me what you think. I think this is ridiculous, and I think that a lot of music fans who are just casual music fans, they just aren't, as tuned in. I mean, I think the magazine's Total Guitar, so I'm assuming guitar players are the ones who subscribe to this magazine, which I find kind of head-scratching because, I mean, look, I'm not taking anything away from Brian May. He's a great guitar player, and he's a great guy. And, he's every bit of an icon as all the guys that I mentioned. But, I mean, from the standpoint of just people that blow you away on guitar, like you stand there, and we haven't even talked about most of the blues players that have existed over the years, the amazing blues players. It's just, come on, guys. Come on.